How's it? Sean from Combat Simulation. Spotting. This is the final tutorial we're going to be doing today for Lock and Load Tacticals. It's the last tutorial. So, before we get started, please subscribe to my channel. It's free. And also leave comments and suggestions. And watch my videos and like them and share them. Helps me a lot. Alright, so spotting. This goes over spotting and the spotted concept. How hexes and units become spotted. How spotting attempts are conducted. Alright, let's begin the tutorial. Can't wait. Alright, let's move to the center, Mr. Fender. Okay, good. Now we buy the action. Okay, spotting. Spotting is a very important concept in Lock and Load Tactical. Every hex on the map at any given moment is spotted or not spotted. As we briefly touched in tutorial 4, units in unspotted hexes cannot be directly fired upon. Alright, correct. This tutorial will go over how a hex becomes spotted or unspotted. Next step. Alright, spotted hexes. Lock and Load Tactical is a board game where both players can see the location of all counters on the board. Just because players can see the counters, however, does not mean that the units on the battlefield can see each other. The digital version of Lock and Load offers a fog of war option to hide the counters that are entirely out of line of sight, but the spotting rules remain the same. Alright, good. Next step. Okay, the most important thing to know about spotting is that hexes, not units, are spotted. If a hex is spotted, all units in that hex are spotted. First, let's go over some of the ways a hex can become automatically spotted. Alright, next. Alright, let's zoom in here. It's got the little red circle there. Automatic spotting. Take a look at hex F7 near the bottom of the map. Hex F7 contains a single American squad. There are 3 nearby NVA squads in G5, H7 and G7. Left click on F7 to select the American squad. Alright, selected him. Okay. With the squad selected, one of 3 NVA counters, G5, is shaded to indicate it's not currently in a spotted hex. The other 2 are automatically spotted. The first spotted squad on the road is in H7, is in open type terrain. Open type terrain is always spotted. So he's talking about this NVA section over here. This is open terrain is always spotted. Okay, that's the one. The other squad in G7 is in an adjacent hex. Adjacent hexes are always spotted. There are 2 common exceptions to this rule. The adjacent units must be in good order, not shaken, and button units do not automatically spot adjacent hexes. So he has to be in good order, and button units don't always, vehicles don't always spot adjacent hexes. Alright, next step. Alright, it's moved over here. Okay, right click on J8 to directly select this shaken squad there. Okay, I'm going to right click. This squad is not in good order and therefore does not automatically spot the adjacent hex K7. Alright, the computer has shaded the NVA counters as a reminder that they are in an unspotted hex. Alright, good. I've got the icons to show as big so that you can see clearly. The smaller icons, you know, when you zoom out, you can't, and it's nice because you can, with these big icons, you can see that there's a officer over there, there's squads over there, so it's nice. I'm going to use the bigger icons. I much prefer the bigger icons. Alright, so let's go on. Yeah, okay, next step. Alright, the other common way hexes become automatically spotted is by the presence of admin markers. Units that have been marked moved, fired, assault move, hit and run, or melee cause the hex to become spotted. Right click on hex I3 to select it. This is Lieutenant Nightingale's stack. Okay, I'm going to right click on there. Alright. NVA units, the NVA units in K4 are shaded. Okay, there they are. Their hex is not spotted because it is neither open terrain, bamboo huts are blocking, nor adjacent to Lieutenant Nightingale. Okay, so he's not in open terrain and he's not adjacent. Okay, that's why you can't see him. Next, across the road, however, I5 is spotted. The NVA squad there moved on a previous impulse and has been marked with a move marker. If you have large admin counters, the option set to large, move markers will appear on top of the squad. So I've got them set to small. So what he means is if it's set to large, you'll see a big movement marker. But as you see there, it's got a little move marker there on it. So I've used the smaller ones because others just looks clunky on the map. In either case, because a unit marked as move is in the hex is spotted, and the NVA counter is unshaded. So he moved in a previous turn. So it didn't matter what terrain he was, he's become spotted. All right, next. That's simple enough. All right, let's go over here. There are two common admin markers that do not cause the hexes to become spotted: low crawl and ops complete. And if you look at the hex on L3 to the east, it is not spotted. The NVA squad there used low crawl to enter it on a previous impulse. Lieutenant Nightingale does have line of sight to the hex, but the units there have done nothing yet to disclose their presence. Okay, so he has line of sight, but even though they've moved, they used a low crawl. So, and so low crawl and ops complete. So he's not automatically spotted because of the low crawl. All right, next. Okay. The admin markers are removed at the end of each turn. So the turns in lock and load have an ebb and flow of activity. The first impulses have fewer spotted hexes, makes sense. But as the turn progresses, units fire or move, causing more hexes to become spotted. Then other units fire at those spotted hexes, and their hexes become spotted. And others fire at them, and so on. So it makes sense. So in the beginning of the turn, when you start the game, everything's unspotted. Most of the stuff is unspotted. But as you move and fire, and he moves and fires, everything becomes spotted. Well, not everything, but more and more becomes spotted. All right, next step. But what if Lieutenant Nightingale really wants to fire at the units in an unspotted hex? A spotting attempt is an action that a unit may take on its impulse. It is an attempt to make a hex become spotted. Only one spotting attempt may be made on each impulse, and the attempt does not automatically succeed. So you can make an attempt to spot, but only one per impulse can be made. All right, and it doesn't always succeed. All right, getting that? All units can make spotting attempts, with the exception of medics, corpsmen, chaplains, and other module-specific rally-only units. Leaders may use their leadership modifier to help their own spotting attempts. Okay, so all units can make a spotting attempt, except these guys. One of the action buttons above the unit selection window is for making spotting attempts. It is the third button. Let's talk about this one. The one with the left click on that button now. So this is the one we use for spotting attempts. So I left clicked on it. Generally, if multiple eligible units are selected when an action is chosen, the computer will automatically use the unit with the highest chance of success. In this case, that is Lieutenant Nightingale, because of his leadership modifier. If you want to use a specific unit for an action, you must make sure it is the only unit that's selected. So it automatically picked Lieutenant Nightingale because he's got the highest modifier for success. All right, next step. Back to the targeting. You've been prompted to select a target hex for the spotting attempt. There are 4 possible hexes to target, and they're all highlighted with pulsing outlines. Okay, good. There we go. All of these. Okay, and that one there. As you move your mouse pointer over each hex, a window with the spotting attempt modifiers will show. Its default position is up. Okay, good. If you need to move a window left, okay. We know all that. Is there anything else here? I'm not going to move any windows. Next. Okay, the spotting attempt roll is based on the type of terrain in the hex. Degrading terrain needs a roll of 1 to 3 on a single die. Okay. Blocking terrain is more difficult and requires a roll of 1 to 2. Hover over G5. Okay, there we're going to hover over G5 to the southwest. This is a light jungle hex, which is degrading type. The spotting window shows 1 die icon. Okay, there's the 1 die, followed by a -1 bonus for Lieutenant Nightingale, and the indication that the light jungle requires a result of 3 or less. Okay, yeah, it does. Let me just make sure. Man. Yeah, it requires 3. Yeah, 3 or less. Okay, you can see it there. I just can't. I'm trying to. You see there where it says light jungle, 3 or less. Okay, that's the die roll. Hover over K4. Oh, let me just put this to the top there. Okay, so let's hover over K4. Let's concentrate on K4. Hover over K4. Bamboo huts are blocking types, so the final result needs to be 2 or less. If you have a percentage odds showing, it says a 50% chance of success. Yeah, it says at the bottom 50% chance of success. The degrading gear, it has to be 3 or under the dice. Bamboo huts blocking terrain needs 2 or under. Okay, next step. Now hover over L3. This hex, it's a building, okay, light construction building. It also has blocking type. Additionally, the line of sight to this hex also passes through degrading terrain in hex J3, which imposes a +1 penalty to the roll. Lieutenant Nightingale leadership cancels that out, but the odds are still not great at 33% chance. So the spotting attempt also, it depends on the hexes it passes through. So he's still got the one. He's still got the one dice. Degrading X adds the penalty. Leadership takes it away, and because it's a building, light construction building, a blocking terrain. It is a dice roll of 2 or under. All right, next step. Though the odds are best to spot on G5, which is obviously this one because it's 66%. Odds on G5, Lieutenant Nightingale really wants to spot the units in the huts across the road. Left click on K4 to target it for a spotting attempt. So I'm going to left click on K4. It's this one. All right, there's making the spotting attempt. The spotting attempt resolves, and it's Lieutenant Nightingale's lucky day, or at least impulse. He rolled a 2, -1 for the leadership, for a result of 1, a success. Whether or not the unit spotting attempt succeed, it is marked with an ops complete. If the attempt succeeds, the target hex is marked with a spotted marker and is spotted for all units until the marker is removed. Okay, obviously at the end of the turn. All right, next step. Spotting attempts also have exceptions to 2 standard rules. First, spotting attempt does not count as an activation. Okay, note that the other American units can all still be activated, such as the squad on F7 or Lieutenant Jensen on D5, still have pulsing hex outlines. Also note that the button in the control window now reads still pass 1, so it hasn't moved past. Instead of end impulse, because no units have been activated. Okay, so spotting doesn't activate the hex. It marks him as ops complete, and it doesn't activate the hex yet. Remember though, you may only make 1 spotting attempt per impulse. So it doesn't mark it as ops. It marks him, so it doesn't it doesn't activate the hex. That's what he's talking. It does not count for activation. All right, next step. The second exception is that a unit marked ops complete because of a spotting attempt may still fire normally, as long as it's in the same impulse and targets the same hex for which it made the spotting attempt. Lieutenant Nightingale, for example, would still be able to assist fire against K4 as long as it's within this impulse. So he can still fire, his units can still fire, and he'll still assist them, but he has to do it in this impulse. If he doesn't, he can't help them in the next impulse. It's all got to be, and it's got to target the same hex that he spotted. All right, brilliant, got that. Okay, let's fire at the enemy units. Left click on K4 to have Lieutenant and his 2 squads fire there. All right, good. We're going to left click. All right. Direct fire resolves, and in the results window, you can see that Lieutenant Nightingale's leadership was applied. He was able to assist because it was in the same impulse as the spotting attempt. If the squads waited and fired in a later impulse, he would not be able to assist them. Okay, so you could only assist them in the same impulse. Firing activated those hexes. So the end impulse button is now showing in the control window. Press the end impulse button. Okay, good. Now that you've learned how spotting attempts are conducted, you might be surprised to learn that many lock and load players do not use them very often. In many scenarios, this is a very time is a very limited resource, and a failed spotting attempt can cause unacceptable delays. Yeah, that's very true, because a spotting attempt can, because I mean, you only got like in this game, I've noticed you only got like 6 turns or 7 turns, so spotting attempts do cause delays, so that's why they probably don't use them. All right, good. If you want to know more, even more, spotting is covered in detail in section 10.1 of the rulebook, but the key things to remember for lock and load digital are: shaded enemy units are in unspotted hexes. Okay, adjacent units automatically spot hexes. Moved or fire type markers make their hex spotted, and you can make a spotting attempt if you really have to. Okay, good. So basically, yeah, so anything adjacent is spotted to your unit. Anything adjacent to him is spotted, and as long as he's in good order. Anything in open terrain is spotted. And anything that's in degrading or blocking terrain is not automatically spotted unless they have moved in a previous turn, or they moved, or they did some kind of action shot. And then you can make spotting attempts, and you can make them with your any unit except medics and those sort of self rally units, and it marks the person, that the unit that did it, as ops complete, which means that doesn't it's still active. Your hexes are still active, doesn't unactivate all the other hexes, not doesn't count for activation. So you can still fire in an ops complete as long as you do it at the same hex you made the spotting attempt for, and as long as you fired it and you fire in this impulse. If you leave it and you pass on to another impulse, you don't have that ability anymore. I think that summarizes it. Yeah, simple, eh? Spotting, straightforward, just a few things to remember, and you can get running, kicking down the road, and off you go. Brilliant tutorial. Now, with all of these tutorials, this is, as you notice, they were simple, right? They were not in detail, but they give you enough to start playing the game. And as you learn, you go on. And I promise you, you could start playing straight away. You could get right in. The computer's doing all the heavy lifting, and you start learning as you go. And that's how I'm doing it. That's how I'm doing it. Just with these simple tutorials, the computer makes life so much more easier. All right, so I'm finished with this tutorial. Thanks for watching. Sean from Combat Simulations. Please subscribe to my channel. It's free. And also leave comments and suggestions. And watch my videos and like them and share them. It helps a lot. All right. Until our next lock and load fight video. Good day on you.